And welcome to the Lunacy Podcast. We are live from, well, not live because we're taping it, but we are at Alloy Brewing in Coon Rapids. Of course, joined by Dave Stevens, Dave Sterling. I am Tony Pervenanzi. John Andrewski is also with us today, along with his fiancee, Jennie, who showed up after she was out partying last night. Right, Jennie? All weekend with the girls. Had a girls' weekend partying. We were all at the game last night. So we are nursing our beers today.
And we will talk about that much later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that much later. But first of all, we have a huge announcement to talk about.
Yes.
Because after 10 episodes of this podcast, we are going to be picked up by a national website called Beautiful Game Network, BGN .fm. And from what I've seen on their website, they do a lot of lower league stuff, and they have podcasts for every team in the lower league, and we will be the first MLS team on their website. Dave, you kind of went through the motions with them. I mean, how did it all kind of break down?
Well, it was actually really easy. First off, I need to give a shout out to Paul Ray. He does the podcast for the Colorado Springs Switchbacks.
Sure.
And he randomly messaged me and said, hey, you should check out BGN because we're on there and they're slowly expanding. And so I checked out their website and I was like, oh yeah, it's mostly USL. They do have a general MLS news podcast, and then they also have an EPL podcast.
Okay.
And I was like, all right. So I shot him a message. Yeah, I mean, it took 3 days to get them on board. I'm assuming they listened to us because they said that they liked our format.
Yeah.
So sounds like they did.
Well, so now instead of having tens of people listening to us, we might have hundreds of people listening to us.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of cool. We've gone corporate and sold out.
Yeah, we sold out like Wayne's World. Pretty much. We've been talking about that.
I was just, as soon as I heard that news, I, of course, had to check the Twitter feed and check out their Twitter page, but I'm just looking at their website now, and it looks beautiful, it looks nice, and it's kind of exciting that we're just right on the front page there.
Yeah,
we are literally the
on the
very
front page.
first.
Jeez.
Well, I guess second, technically. The LA or the Las Vegas.
So it looks like it's
review
a source
is the biggest.
It's a source for news as well as kind of
Source what I saw it. Yeah, podcasts, news, stuff like that. So we're have our whole page on there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so if someone goes to bgn.fm, they just have to scroll down a couple, just a little bit, and there's an MLS logo with a Loons logo right below it. And if you click on the Loons logo, it goes right to our page.
Oh, that's
okay.
great.
Cool.
So,
all right.
and then it's got the the episodes broken down. It has a link to be able to listen to them on Apple, and then has all the episodes listed. Below that, it has a link to our Twitter page. It has a link
to our Facebook page.
No, it does not have a link to the Facebook page.
We should probably add that.
Yeah, and it actually, it shows the tweets that come from our page, which means I might have to make sure
we might have to
that when I tweet.
Yeah, you might have to watch yourself. You don't want a Roseanne Barr thing happening.
So, for instance, the last tweet was not surprising. The DP gets the nod over Ramirez, but talk about risky, which I agree with.
Yeah.
Which is why I tweet.
You should be. You're going to be in charge of the tweeting, because if it was me tweeting, it'd be like, "Hey, I'm drinking today." That's all it would be. There would be no other, here's the beer I'm having today. That's it. So we're very excited for the news. I mean, I think when we started this whole thing up, we just thought, well, it's going to be fun. And now here's a whole new chapter of it. So, yeah. So you can find us on that website. That's bgn.fm. And we are happy and we're excited to be a part of their network. Like I said, we are at Alloy. We are drinking the beers. Dave and myself and Dave all got samplers, flights, and I went with the Hells, the cream, the cherry lime, and the rye. And I will say the cherry lime beer, guys. Have you guys had it yet?
I have. That's the one I've had.
Oh man, that is fantastic.
Yeah,
I could drink that all day.
It's a wit style beer.
Yeah.
Meaning, I think that's short for wheat. I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't get that one in my flight.
You didn't?
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll get that in the next one.
I downed that sample in like 2 minutes. It was so good.
I've got about half of it left. Yeah, it's definitely, especially on a day like today, it's 80 degrees sitting in the sun.
Yep.
It's perfect. It's refreshing.
We're out here on their patio. This
Yeah.
used to be, I think this used to be a oil change place
Jiffy
or a
Lube,
Jiffy
something
Lube or
like
something
that.
like that, which is interesting because they kept all the garage doors and they could open them up, and then the patio is kind of in the back where you come out of the Jiffy Lube and kind of go back, after you're done. They've got bags out here. It's a nice space. Inside is very nice. And
it is kind of funny. Like if we can be sitting out here enjoying our beer at Alloy here, and you can just say, "Oh yeah, what a great idea! Turning a Jiffy Lube into a brewery."
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
See it. You can see it work, like you said, with the garage doors.
Yep.
But could you ever imagine if you literally, pulled your car into one of the garage bays? Could you think to yourself, "Well, it'd be a cool place to have a beer"? And
Right,
yeah,
that would
exactly.
never cross my
I
mind.
wouldn't
Never see
think
it.
that.
You couldn't
No,
see
I
it.
couldn't see that.
Yeah.
But these guys did. It's a fantastic idea, and I want to thank Alloy again for letting us do our podcast out here, and bartender Dave, who is a big Loons fan. So let's get into it, guys. We're gonna have some good things to say in the beginning, and then we're gonna go downhill from there.
Yeah, it's
So-
always excellent.
Yeah.
That seems to be how a lot of podcasts go.
Yeah, so let's go back to the LAFC game because our podcast was actually right before that game. So we didn't get a chance to talk about it because they hadn't played it yet. That game was it 5-1?
5-1, yeah.
We kicked their ass pretty much up and
Yeah.
down the field.
And Dave still owes me big for giving him
I
my
Dave
time.
went to that
I was
game.
lucky enough
Yep.
to see it in person, and it was just what a fantastic game to go to. And
Yep.
it kind of it didn't start out maybe like. Well, I guess it started out like a lot of United games this year, but I was not sitting there expecting them to win, but it just the dominoes just fell.
But I
The
don't think
floodgates opened.
I don't think any of us thought they'd win that game.
Nope.
And even if they did win, it would be close. I didn't think it would be 5-1.
I remember asking, knowing our last podcast, I knew I was going to be going, and I know I asked Dave the question, give me some reasons to be excited to go. Why
Yeah.
should I go? Other than we have had success at home, United have. What are some other reasons? And certainly, one of the reasons you listed off was not that they were going to score 5 goals. And
No.
it would be just a lot.
Yeah, I don't even remember what my reasons were. I remember the question. but-
Well, I know one of them came up. The possibility of maybe our new international or DP signings, coming,
Right, yeah.
and which was the
Which
case.
he did.
Yep.
Ibarra came in the
Ibarra
second
Jr.
half of the game.
Ibarra Jr.
So that was cool to see when he came on. It was just
Yeah.
something to look for.
Schuler got his first goal,
He did.
and it was a nice setup from Darwin, I think.
Well, it actually went all the way back to Ibsen.
Ibsen? Okay.
Ibsen had one of his random
Good passes?
good passes, yeah.
Oh.
And it was a perfect through ball, probably 25 yards up to Darwin, and Darwin carried it up the pitch and had a perfect little cross back into the box, and there was Schuler
There
at
was
the
Schuler,
end of it for his first MLS goal.
I don't think we have to state it again on this podcast that Darwin, he just makes plays. I don't know. There's nothing else more I can say about it. Every time he gets the ball, he's making a play.
Yeah, and I guess I've got notes about that to talk about it later on. His stats have been pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. Very
So,
impressive.
It's something to be pointed out as we run through these games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to come up time and time and time and again. But as with all things Minnesota United FC, good things come to an end real fast,
Well, yes.
and as did the LAFC game. Literally, a minute? I don't even think it was a minute after we scored, they ended up tying the game.
Coming back, yep. And we thought, and I was watching it, I'm going, here we go again. We score a goal, and then they just come right back, roaring back, and score a goal to tie us up, and then the wheels usually fall off the bus. I mean, that's what happens.
And that's why I mentioned I just couldn't get too excited about the game. It's from an outcome point of view. I just wasn't expecting the best, especially at that point.
Yeah.
Just tied up.
And that goal was a perfect example of Gomez being Gomez.
Yep.
Because everybody put the blame on Calvo because he was dispossessed.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he would have been dispossessed had Gomez not passed it to him in traffic where he had absolutely no place to go with the ball.
Exactly right.
And so he immediately turned it to go upfield, and there LA was to dispossess him. and the sequence to the goal, Fellharber's goal, reminded me of Darwin's goal against was that Salt Lake where he beat like 5 defenders.
Yep. He came around and he went.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It was like they dribbled the ball through the box, passing about 6 guys.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they pass it off to Fellharber, who had absolutely no pressure on him, and kicked it in. I mean, it was classic MNUFC.
It happens every game.
Yeah.
I mean, every game. I swear. I don't think we've had a game this year where we didn't score a goal and then the opposing team come back and score a goal right away, because it seems to like happen every time. And so, like I said, at that point, like you guys, were probably saying to ourselves, here we go again. I mean, now LAFC is going to score another 2 or 3 more goals. We're going to come out of this with a loss, and there goes our winning streak, and whatever it is,
right.
Then we're done.
I'll tell you what I think. I think we're going to talk about this soon, but I think if that game, that the LAFC game was in Los Angeles,
yeah,
and that same scenario played out where we had scored an early goal, but had given up the lead, I think we would have lost that game on the road. And,
guaranteed.
And I think we're going to talk about this later, but if it wasn't at home, we would have lost it.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah. And so going to Ibsen, he had the great pass for the first goal. And then in the 22nd minute, here he is, a wide open sitter, and he just completely blows it.
Clanks it. I mean, not clank it, but he completely
skied it.
Skied it, yeah.
Right? Or was it wide?
I think he skied it.
Now.
I think he skied it.
And it's just one of those things, and he's going to come up in the Vancouver match about his mistakes. It's incredible how bad he can be.
He can be very
He'll
bad.
have those random good moments, but man, he's bad sometimes. And Seattle, I'll bring him up again for that game.
Yep.
We'll talk about it again. He can just be bad. So we also, another good thing out of LA was we also got our first corner kick goal of the season.
Yes.
Which, 20 games in, probably should have one of those.
We've talked about this in previous podcasts. I don't know if they even know what the heck's going on half their corner kicks.
Well, and that's the thing. Even this goal, I don't think anyone had any hell of an idea what was going on.
There was no plan.
Because, honestly, Djokovic actually headed it out. And luckily, he didn't get enough on it.
Yeah.
And so it just fell to the top of the box.
Yeah.
Where I believe it was Schuler headed it back. Just randomly heads it down. I mean, it looked like he probably meant to put it up.
Yeah.
And it drops. And somehow rolled through about 8 players to Ramirez's feet.
Yes.
And I just wonder, is like the short corner and the lack of success that Minnesota United had, I wonder if that's something just our team's struggling with, or if it's MLS or what. Because coming out of the World Cup, you saw how successful set pieces were, and corner kicks were in the World Cup. I was actually listening to the Atlanta-Toronto broadcast. We're not going to switch this to an Atlanta podcast. But
Let's not.
I was listening to that broadcast yesterday on ESPN, but they were criticizing Twellman. They were criticizing Atlanta for their lack of success on the corner kicks.
Yeah.
And their use of the short corners. And they mentioned how they like to keep possession, but they were kind of in our same boat, not scoring enough.
I have no problems with the short corners. It's when you do a short corner and you don't have a plan of attack. So many times United have done this where they do a short corner and there's they pass it to somebody and it's like, okay, so now what are you going to do? But there's nobody running around doing setting maybe a pick or something like that, trying to make a play. It's just like, we're just going to keep possession. That doesn't work for me. Right. You have a chance to get a lob passed into the box and make a play.
Right. And that's the big thing. I like short corners, but I like short corners when they're executed. You have a plan.
Exactly.
And if you watch the World Cup, even though Spain really didn't do very well overall, you want to see a team execute